All right, let's get underway. Yeah, it's time. Open your Bibles to the book of Psalms. Sorry the seating's being a little disrupted today, but we have two things going on at 11 o'clock. One is, it is Confirmation Sunday, and so we've had 33 be in the class all this year, and their families will be here. But we're not reserving places for the families, just for the confirmands themselves. Families can sit wherever they like. Our Roundtable Sunday School class, this whole weekend has been celebrating their 50th anniversary. Right now, Sue Venable is leading them in a special service of memorial for those who've died from their class in the last 50 years and celebration of those who survived. They had a big dinner last night at the Tulsa Country Club, and they had dinner together on Friday night here at the church, and they're going away from the church for lunch today after 11 o'clock service. So they've asked for that whole south section at 11 o'clock that they feel they can fill it up. If everybody comes who was at the dinner last night, they can fill it up. If they don't all show up for church, then they may not. But anyway, we're hoping they'll fill all that section at 11 o'clock. Okay, Psalm 29 is, I marked where we left off last week, and so I'd like for you to take a look with me at Psalm 29, and we'll continue. We're not going to do nearly all the Psalms. I've gone through again myself and read and tried to decide the ones that I think will give you a feel for the whole hymn book of the Jews. And again, it doesn't mean they don't have new hymns. They do have new hymns, of course. But this is the core of the hymn book for Jewish people. So we'll start with Psalm 29 after we pray. God, this book of yours is sometimes easy for us and sometimes very difficult for us. This book of Psalms, sometimes easy for us to understand and sometimes more difficult. So we're grateful for scholars who can lead us through and help us understand better. Something about the setting into which these various poems were written and how they became such important statements of faith for the Jewish people and now for us Gentile Christians as well. We offer our best effort in Christ's name. Amen. Okay, I've mentioned a name several times. So it might be helpful if you just saw it for your own use. Okay. Dr. Sigmund Mowinckel, a Scandinavian who spent his adult lifetime working on the book of Psalms from about 1930 all the way to about 1970. And right at the end of his teaching, wrote a 2-volume commentary on the book of Psalms. When I was in seminary, I was always having to struggle to get the courses that I needed because I was also pastoring 2 little churches on the weekend. And I came right down to the last year of graduate school, and I had to have one more 6 hours in Old Testament studies. And the only thing that would fit our schedule, Gail and I were married, of course, by that time, and so we were driving back and forth every weekend to these 2 little churches and then spending class time during the week in Dallas at SMU. The only thing that would fit was Psalms. And I went, oh, gee, I'm going to spend 9 months in the book of Psalms. And then, I just signed up for it because I had to have it, and it fit my schedule. When I got there, I discovered that the professor was a Quaker. In our mainline seminaries, we often have sort of cross-pollination here. They look for the best scholars they can find. And so we had Episcopalians. One of my favorites was Dr. Bill Power, who was a Canadian Anglican. So we had Lutherans and we had Episcopalians and so on, along with a lot of United Methodists. Anyway, here was a Quaker. And he had the demeanor of a Quaker. Sort of what you think of. He was quiet, a very quiet person. If you met him in the hallways, he wasn't a professor that went down, good morning, hello, just moving along. But once he got into class, his eyes just sparkled. Oh, I can't wait, he said, to help you understand this wonderful book of Psalms. And he had spent 40 years of his life working, and he believed Sigmund Mowinckel was right, that he had really nailed this book of Psalms. And we all had to buy this 2-volume set, which was a lot of money to us back at that time. I had to have this 2-volume commentary by Sigmund Mowinckel. And, of course, through the years, I've added more really good books about the book of Psalms to my library and have other help. But I found the book of Psalms to be very interesting and very helpful. As in our hymn book, I remember Dr. Albert Outler, who was the first really big-name catch that our seminary at SMU got. When they lured Albert Outler from Yale Divinity School, offered him a prestigious chair to come to Dallas, Texas, and teach at our Methodist seminary, then other great scholars were willing to come with him. If Albert Outler's there, I'm willing to be there as well. And so we had some really great professors. But I remember Dr. Albert Outler, who was known as the person living at that time who knew more about John Wesley, his life, ministry, everything. He wrote the big volume for the 20th Century Library of Protestant Thought. He wrote the volume on John Wesley. It's about that thick. And he said, more people learn their theology from the hymn book than from the Bible. Think about it. More people learn their theology from the hymn book than from the Bible, which is scary when you see some of the things being sung in churches today, in my opinion. Some of the stuff that gets sung in churches today because they like it. They like it. I preach in some of these churches every once in a while, and often these praise bands, when they get through, they leave. They don't stay for the sermon. They don't want to be a part of anything else. They've come to perform, and then they leave. That's another whole thing. But the hymn book is a great teacher of theology. John Wesley was the greater preacher in the Wesley family, but Charles was the person who really parsed the words and wrote the poetry that became the great hymns. More than 4,000 hymns he wrote in his lifetime. Charles really succinctly stated our faith in so many wonderful ways. We have more of his work surviving than we do of John's now. The hymns have lived. We have John Wesley's Notes on the New Testament, which is a big fat book this size. And we have what are called the 44 Standard Sermons. He rode horseback all those years, more than 80,000 miles on horseback, into his 80s to preach. But he didn't write a new sermon every 3 hours. He had 44 standard sermons that he preached over and over and over and over and over, and we have those. Okay. Hymns are important, so let's take a look. Psalm 29. I studied speed reading when I first went into graduate school. And one of the things that they teach you when you're having to read a lot of material in a short period of time is don't get hung up so much on prepositions and conjunctions. Look for strong nouns and verbs. And look for the places an author repeats herself or himself. Good authors will tell you more than once what they think is most important. When I was taught to write, I was taught that every paragraph ought to state the central point twice, in the first sentence and the last sentence of the paragraph. You were supposed to say what the whole paragraph was about. Okay, so when I read the Bible all these years later, when I'm working on a sermon, that's what I'm making notes about, strong nouns and verbs, strong nouns and verbs. Look at Psalm 29. 18 times, it only has 11 verses, 18 times you have the name given to Moses at the burning bush. How important is it? How important is it to the Jews, you see, that this older name, El Elohim, the transcendent God who created the heavens and the earth, came so close to us at the time of Moses in the I am who I am. So here 18 times that name is used. Now for us it's Lord, 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 but it's Eye, Asher, Eye, Eye, Asher, Eye, Eye, Asher, Eye, over and over in Hebrew 18 times. In one little hymn, 11 verses. Ascribe to the I am who I am, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to the I am who I am glory and strength. And I'll just pick up on what it's saying about these 18 times. The glory of His name. Worship that one in holy splendor. His voice is over the waters. The Elohim of glory thunders. Yahweh over mighty waters. The voice of Yahweh is powerful. The voice of Yahweh full of majesty, and so on. And then it goes on, He breaks the cedars of Lebanon. That is, He's over all the nations, whether they acknowledge that or not. He makes Lebanon skip like a calf, and Sirion, one of the constellations, like a young wild ox. He controls everything from the stars to the biggest trees that they knew. It really is a powerful one. But here is, right at the end, is what Sigmund Mowinckel picked up on over and over. Remember I told you, his thesis in 2 big volumes on Psalms is that the most important worship days in the year were in the fall. And that's still true, of course. Passover is big to Jews, and we know that it is, but usually Passover is done in the home. It's done in the home. Jews come together. There are 2 big days. Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, 10 days apart, in the fall. The rabbis, tease me. Well, our Easter is here now, they say. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, 2 biggest days. And Sigmund Mowinckel picked up on that. Those are the 2 biggest days. And they are fashioned on a time, centuries ago, 3,000 years ago, when pagans had their big fall festival, ate, drank, sex with as many as possible, rip-snorting big party in a drunken stupor, brought in their king of these various little tribes. Behold our king, he is our God. And that the Jews did not do all the eating and the drinking and the promiscuous sex. No, this is a time of penitence. It's a time of introspection. It's a time of taking a really hard look at one's life over the past year. What wrong did I do that I ought not? What good might I have done that I didn't do? Will God move from the seat of judgment to the seat of mercy and help me begin again and do it better in the new year? Okay? And at the end of that, Mowinckel became convinced from the book of Psalms that they came in with the beautiful box holding the tablets of the 10 Commandments. And rather than behold our King, He is our God, behold our God, He is our King. See the difference? Okay, so look at these last verses of Psalm 29. Verse 10. Eye, Asher, Eye, sits enthroned. Who sits on a throne? Kings sit on a throne. Behold our God, He is our King, you see. Yahweh sits enthroned as King forever. See it? That's what he picked up on. 40 years, and finally he said, by George, I've got it. May Yahweh give strength to His people. May Yahweh bless His people with shalom. That's the way it ends. Okay? All right, look at Psalm 30. We, again, won't go through all of this. 10 times in this psalm, we have that name again. 18 times in Psalm 29, 10 times in this one. In 12 verses, 10 times the name is given. I will extol you, O I am who I am, for you have drawn me up and did not let my foes rejoice over me. O I am who I am, my Elohim, I cried to you for help and you've healed me. Oh, I am who I am. You brought up my soul from Sheol, from the tomb. Didn't let me die. I was really sick. You didn't let me die. Restored me to life from among those who had gone down to the abyss. The watery places down below the earth, the way they envisioned it. Look at verse 4. Sing praises to Yahweh, O you his faithful ones. Give thanks to his set-apart name. Okay, they're not going to use this name so much that it loses its meaning, its beauty and purpose. Okay, for his anger is but for a moment. There are times when fire bills in God's nose, is the way the Hebrew describes it. There are times when fire bills in his nose, but he doesn't hold a grudge, so to speak. It's for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. And favor is another way that you and I would translate as grace. Okay? Unmerited favor. God wants good to come to you. We believe that's what Jesus came to show. God wants good to come to you. So weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes with the morning. Beautiful. As for me, I said, in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. By your favor, O Yahweh, you have established me as a strong mountain. You hid your face. I was dismayed. Sort of like Job. I once had, now I don't have so much. But look at verse 11. Skip to 11. You have turned my mourning, this is mourning, my mourning, into dancing. You've taken off my sackcloth, which was a sign of grieving, you remember, and clothed me with joy, so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Eye Asher Eye, my Elohim, I will give thanks to you forever. Beautiful? Beautiful. Okay, let's see. Let's skip that one. Let's go to 33, I think. Once again affirming Israel's God. You remember that in biblical times, by and large, there were no atheists. I mean, simply everybody believed in God. There were so many things going on that was beyond their ability to control. They assumed there is a God. Of course, for everybody else, there were gods, plural. The Israelites were the ones to speak of monotheism, one God. Monotheism, just Jews. And in the world today, after all these centuries, there are only three who so believe. The Jews, then came the Christians, then came the Muslims. Monotheist, just three. Major religion in the world today, monotheist, one God. So the question was, tribe by tribe by tribe, whose God is the real one? And often it came down to, well, which tribe is stronger? If a tribe is stronger, richer, more powerful, then it must have the right God. That was the way the reasoning went. So in Jewish hymnody, when they came together and would recite responsively, remember when we were reading Ezra and Nehemiah, the people responded the way we do now, with a cantor, then the congregation, with a cantor, then the congregation. Okay, so look at verse 8, Psalm 33. Let all the earth, literally the Hebrew word here is stand in awe of Eye Asher Eye. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spoke. Okay, what are you noticing here? This psalm is probably written after Genesis 1. How does Genesis 1 begin? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God said, and things started happening. We know that Psalm 1 is much more recent than Psalm 2. Genesis 2, sorry. Genesis 2, a more primitive story of how things began, told around a campfire, many campfires, for hundreds and hundreds of years. When the dew had settled in the dust, God went out, spun the potter's wheel, created a little human being, breathed into it his own breath. Little man jumped down off the wheel. Well, let's make some more things. I'll make them, you name them. Okay, elephants, camels. That's Genesis 2. Genesis 1, we believe, written during the Babylonian captivity. Rabbi Sherman would tell you the same. Written during the Babylonian captivity. When the big question is, if the Babylonians have destroyed our city, have burned Solomon's temple, have burned the royal palace. Is their God bigger than ours? That was the question. And the priest who survived in Babylon, we believe, wrote Genesis 1. Not to tell you how God created, but to tell you who created. Who? The one at the burning bush first spoke. So look here. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. Okay, firm, remember? The earth on pillars, the ancients thought, down in a gooey muck of some sort of like Venice. That's what they envisioned. But here, this poet, we believe, knew Psalm 1 and is reciting, if it would. So look at verse 13 of this psalm. Yahweh, Eye, Asher, Eye, looks down from heaven. He sees all humankind. From where he sits enthroned. See the word? Sigmund Mowinkle saw it. Every time he saw that word, it just added more fodder to what he was believing he was finding here. That this imagery is used over and over and over and over. God is our King. He sits on the throne. From where he sits enthroned, he watches all the inhabitants of the earth. He who fashions the hearts of them all and observes all their deeds. Look at verse 18. Truly the eye of Yahweh is on those who stand in awe of him, on those who hope in his chesed. The one word I've told you, used more than any other in the 39 scrolls of the Hebrew Scriptures to describe the very nature of God. Chesed, steadfast or never failing love. Truly the eye of Yahweh is on those who stand in awe of him, on those who hope in his chesed, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Now, delivering their soul from death, you see, also tends to mark Psalm 33 as late in the biblical period. Because after all the Davidic kings were gone, no descendant of David ever sat on a Jewish throne after the Babylonian captivity, 587, 586. It was after that, when Genesis 1 was written, when scholars believe this psalm was written, that they began to take into account books like Job, which said, if you live a long time, die rich, with lots of kids and grandkids around you, you must have been good. If you die young and poor and sick, you must have been bad. When that was finally rejected as not being true, that really evil people can live a long time, end up with lots of money, with lots of kids and lots of grandkids, and really good people can die young and poor. Then they said, well, then that's not fair. That's not fair. So there must be a time and a place when God finally makes all things right. There must be a time and place when God finally makes all things right. Okay, those who stand in awe of this one God, who hope in his chesed to deliver their souls from death. Okay? All right, let's skip some more. Go with me to Psalm 40. We'll take a look at that one for just a moment. I waited patiently for the Eye, Asher Eye. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the desolate pit, abyss, out of the miry bog. See how they thought of it? Earth was flat, they thought. Its stability, caused by God's having driven some kind of pillars down into the waters underneath. Miry bog. Set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our Elohim. Many will see and stand in awe and put their trust in the I am who I am. If we live our faith, others will come to believe. This is faith in the real God, the only real one. Okay? So happy are those who make Yahweh their trust, who do not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after false Elohim. You have multiplied, O Yahweh, my Elohim, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. Okay, look a little bit further, verse 10. I have not hidden your saving help within my heart. That is, I'm willing to share what's happened to me. I've spoken of your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your chesed and your emunah, congregation, b'nai emunah, your faithfulness, from the great congregation. Do not, O I am who I am, withhold your mercy from me. Let your chesed and your emunah keep me safe forever. Isn't that beautiful? Look at Psalm 46. We'll just do one every 7 or 8 here, maybe. Another great hymn. Elohim is our refuge and strength. I remind you again that all ancient communities depended on high walls to keep out the enemy. As settlers moved across this country, they built a string of forts so you could get in them at night and lock the gates and hopefully sleep safely until morning. Okay? Every community had found the highest place it had and had built a wall around it because all the weapons of war were aided by gravity back in biblical times. The person at the top of the hill had an advantage over people at the bottom. If you grew up in the South like I did, and you had a history teacher in high school who said, if you ever call that war a civil war, I will fail you. It wasn't a civil war, it was the war between the states. So you can imagine how she interpreted all the battles. But she said, when Lee was victorious, he had his army at the top of the hill. And at Gettysburg, he ended up at the bottom of the hill, trying to run uphill while firing their weapons. Being at the top of the hill was very important. But they had also discovered you can't build walls high enough that somebody can't scale them. So here is this idea. Elohim, this old name, God, is our fortress, refuge, and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth should change. Remember that there's a terrific fault line that runs along the Jordan River. The Middle East is prone to volcanic and earthquake activity. The reason the Jordan River Valley is the lowest spot on the planet is that two great plates of the earth came together there and moved downward instead of buckling up. Moved downward. So from the lake in the north to the Dead Sea at the bottom, you have a river flowing down a valley that is about 1,500 feet below sea level. 50 miles away, if you could build a canal, you could flood the whole place from the Mediterranean. It's 1,500 feet below sea level. Jerusalem, 17 miles away, is 3,500 feet above sea level. A whole mile in elevation in 17 miles. So they were familiar. Bet Shean is one of our favorite ruins now put back together. Bet Shean was a very prominent place in Old Testament times. Saul and his sons were nailed to the wall there by the Philistines. The Romans thought it was such a significant place, they imported marble columns and set up Arcadia, the heart of Bethshan. It was abandoned. Earthquake activity scared the lightning out of them, and they moved, abandoned it, never moved back. It's only been unearthed in the last 25 years. So earthquakes they were very familiar with. All right, so let's look. Though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God, Elohim, is in the midst of the city. That was Jerusalem, of course. To them, it shall not be moved. Elohim will help it when the morning dawns. The nations are in an uproar. The kingdoms totter. He utters his voice. The earth melts. The Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, Lord of all the hosts, is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our fortress, our refuge. So come, behold the works of the I Am who I am. See what desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow, shatters the spear, burns the shields with fire. Someday God will do that. So verse 10, be still and know that I am Elohim. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, Lord of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Jacob, our refuge. Beautiful? Well, let's skip several here. Let's see which one I mark next. Let's skip all the way to 67. We really aren't going to do nearly all of these. Psalm 67 picks up on the same words we use in one of our benedictions. May God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face to shine upon us, that your way may be known upon earth, your saving power among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O Elohim. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you judge the peoples with equity. You see, equity, of course, comes from the same root as equal, judging all people the same. So many of the kings were not fair. Not fair. You ever watch Rick Steves on television when he travels all over Europe, primarily Europe? Well, recently he was in a small village. One night I was watching, and he was in a small village in Eastern Europe, been under communist domination for many, many years, of course, now freed. And he was walking through the market, and he saw some cherries, beautiful cherries, and he asked if he could have 1 kilo, okay, about a pound. 1 kilo is 2 pounds, half a pound. These beautiful cherries. And so the woman handed him a little bag, and he was putting them in, and then she put them on a scale and told him how much it would be. But as he started to leave the market area, he saw that hanging there was a scale belonging to the town. And you could always check to see if the merchant had treated you fairly. He said, everything you had bought in the market, you could check it on the way out. And if it wasn't right, you could go back and tell her she owes you 5 more cherries here. Okay. So God is the one who judges with equity, with fairness, equally. All people equally. And guide the nations upon earth. Let the peoples praise you, O Elohim. Let all the peoples praise you. The earth has yielded its increase. See, that would be at harvest time. Elohim, our Elohim, has blessed us. May Elohim continue to bless us. Let all the ends of the earth revere him. Do you see that in that one, the Lord is not mentioned a single time? By that name, I mean. The older name, El, all the way through. Okay. I think we can skip that one. Let's look at the very end of 68, verse 32. Psalm 68, verse 32. Sing to Elohim, O kingdoms of the earth. Sing praises to the I am who I am. And notice how he's described, O rider in the heavens, the ancient heavens. Listen, he sends out his voice, his mighty voice. Ascribe power. Ascribing, of course, means acknowledge. This is the one who has the power, not the God of that tribe or that tribe or that tribe. Your tribe, Israel, your tribe. Ascribe power to Elohim, whose majesty is over Israel, meaning he's your king. Sigmund Mowinckel, he's your king, whose power is in the skies. Awesome is Elohim in his sanctuary. Remember, sanctuary for us comes from Latin, sanctus. English word is holy. Set apart place is what it means. Awesome is Elohim in his set apart place, the Elohim of Israel. He gives power and strength to his people. Blessed be Elohim. Okay. Let's look at Psalm 72. I want to mention just a few words here because when we get to Christmas time, particularly Epiphany time, this will be one of the approved lections. Because this Psalm 72 sort of informs Matthew's story of the Magi. Okay? You know that Mark and John tell us nothing about the birth of Jesus. Just Matthew and Luke. Luke tells us about shepherds. Luke writes about common people. Even says the common people heard him gladly. So shepherds were, today we think of little lambs and goats and they're sweet and wonderful. Not by the time Jesus came. David's time, shepherds were reputable. By Jesus' time, scholars say the shepherds were usually people that couldn't get a job doing anything else and you kept your eye on them all the time. Common folk, keeping watch over the flock by night, seeing this angelic chorus leading them to this little place called Bethlehem. And there they went. Okay, Matthew wants very much to convince Jews of his time that Jesus was greater than their greatest ever revealer, Moses. Jesus was greater than Moses. And one of the things he tells us about is the story of the Magi. We call them kings. They were sages, if you would, sort of observers of the stars. Okay, look at verse 10. Psalm 72, verse 10. May the kings of Tarshish and of the isles render him tribute. May the kings of Sheba and Seba bring gifts. May all kings fall down before him. All nations give him service. For he delivers the needy when they call, the poor and those who have no helper. He has pity on the weak and the needy and saves the lives of the needy from oppression and violence. He redeems their life, and precious is their blood in his sight. Skip to verse 18. So blessed be the I am who I am, Elohim of Israel, who alone. Remember the Shema? That Jesus said is the greatest commandment of all. Hear, O Israel, the I am who I am, our Elohim is one. You must have no other God but him. Look at this. Blessed be the I am who I am, Elohim of Israel, who alone does wondrous things. Not sharing with any other God or goddess here, alone does wondrous things. Blessed be his glorious name forever. May his glory fill the whole earth. Amen and amen. All right, turn with me. Let's look at 77 for just a few moments here. Don't let me forget to go get my picture made with the confirmands here. I cry aloud to Elohim, that he may hear me. Remember, that was Moses' big contention with God, that God wouldn't hear him. At the burning bush, when God said, I want you to go back to Egypt, face down Pharaoh. I've heard the cries of my people. After 400 years, I'm ready to deliver them. And Moses said, I know the Pharaoh, grew up in his house, know how many chariots, know how many soldiers. And I know everybody in the Middle East here is screaming your name all the time. Il-El-Al, Il-El-Al, Il-El-Al. How are you ever going to hear me? And God said, I'll give you a name nobody else knows. And the name he gave him, of course, was the Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am who I am. Here we have the older name. I cry aloud to Elohim, that he may hear me with all these other people screaming his name. In the day of my trouble I seek. And then here comes the name at the burning bush, the I am who I am. In the night my hand is stretched out without wearying. My soul refuses to be comforted. Verse 7, will Yahweh spurn forever and never again be favorable? This is a poet who's really up against it. Has his chesed ceased forever? He's not feeling loved. Are his promises at an end for all time? Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he in anger shut up his compassion? I mean, is he feeling abandoned or not? Skip to verse 11. Guess what? I need to remember is what he's saying here now. I need to remember. Wait. I'm crying out of my illness, death, whatever the circumstance may be. I need to stop and remember. Torah, remember, means the teachings, the instructions. Elie Wiesel, you remember, said that when he and his father were being force-marched all the way from Auschwitz to Buchenwald, from Poland into Germany, in a blinding winter snowstorm, when his father finally fell and couldn't get up and died, in his deepest heart, Elie, a teenage boy, said, I knew there was no God. When the camp was liberated at Buchenwald, he was put on a train to France. He was shown showers with real warm water, fed, shown to a clean bedroom, was asked, is there anything else we can do for you? And he said, do you have Talmud? Talmud, commentary on the Hebrew Scriptures. He wanted to read where his father was reading to him 4 years before when the Nazis had taken his family away. I better remember. This poet says, I better remember. I will call to mind the deeds of the I am who I am. This verse 11. I will remember your wonders of old. I will meditate on all your work and muse on your mighty deeds. Your way, O Elohim, is holy. What Elohim is so great as our Elohim? You are the Elohim who works wonders. You've displayed your might among the peoples. With your strong arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. When the waters saw you, O Elohim, when the waters saw you, they were afraid. Remember, Jews weren't a seagoing people. They didn't understand the big Mediterranean. They certainly didn't understand all that water out beyond the Straits of Gibraltar out there. When the waters saw you, they were afraid. The very deep trembled. The clouds poured out water. The skies thundered. Your arrows, lightning, of course, flashed on every side. The crash of your thunder was in the whirlwind. Your lightnings lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. Your way was through the sea. What's he remembering? God's rescuing his people from Egypt, parting the waters of the sea. Your way was through the sea, your path through the mighty waters. yet your footprints were unseen. Meaning what? You got to have faith. You got to have faith. You don't get to see God with your eyes. Don't see the footprints, even though He was the one. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. Great hymns, huh? All right, Psalm 80. Let's go to 80. Give ear, O shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock. Look at this next word. You are enthroned upon the cherubim. Where were the cherubim? These beautiful little carvings on the corners of the box holding the Ten Commandments. So the box that was brought in, and Sigmund Mowinckel was convinced that every fall, as long as the box endured, seems to have been destroyed by the Babylonians. No one's ever seen it since. This beautiful box, he believed these words and others in the Psalms tell him they brought in the beautiful box. And they could see these little carved figures, but they were not God. They were little cherubim carved into the corners of the box. But that was the throne of God, if you would. As others brought in their king, the Jews brought in the box and said, Behold your king, your God, He is your king. You who are enthroned upon the cherubim, shine forth before Ephraim and Benjamin and Manasseh, these various tribes of Israel. Stir up your might and come to save us. Restore us, O God. Let your face shine that we may be saved. Notice in verse 7, he says again, Restore us, O Elohim of hosts, let your face shine. Skip to verse 17. But let your hand be upon the one at your right hand, the one whom you have made strong for yourself. Then we will never turn back from you. Give us life, and we will call on your name. Restore us, O I am who I am, Elohim of Israel, let your face shine that we may be saved. All right, let's skip farther. Psalm 96. You remember when the Israelites ended up in Babylon? How frightening that was for them, because they know the northern tribes, 10 northern tribes, had been carted away by the Assyrians almost 150 years before and had never resurfaced. They were assimilated into the Assyrian culture. The Assyrian people, they ceased to exist as a separate people. Will this happen to us? Will the two southern tribes just become Babylonians? That was the big question. And one of the questions raised by the great prophets who ended up going with them, Ezekiel, second part of Isaiah, can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Can we be observant Jews in Babylon? Look how this song begins. Oh, sing to the I am who I am a new song. Sing to the I am who I am, all the earth. Skip to verse 4. For great is the I am who I am, and greatly to be praised. He is to be revered above all Elohim. For all the Elohim of the peoples are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. Look at verse 10. Say among the nations. Here, Sigmund Mowinckel. Say among the nations, the I am who I am is King. See it? Once he focused on this, he could see nothing else. You see? Once he focused on it, he could see nothing else. If you read through both volumes of my commentaries, you'd see he saw it in every psalm, almost. Something about God's being enthroned, sitting on the throne, being our King. Verse 11, let the heavens be glad, let the earth rejoice, let the sea roar and all that fills it, let the field exult and everything in it. Then shall all the trees of the forest sing for joy before Yahweh, for He is coming. He is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with His truth. Psalm 97. Another one of Mo Winkle's. He calls it an enthronement psalm. The I am who I am is King. Let the earth rejoice. Let the many coastlands be glad. Clouds and thick darkness are all around Him. Remember I told you about the little puffs of smoke that the Pope uses, that Eastern Orthodox bishops use, archbishops. This driving back the evil. Clouds and thick darkness are all around God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of His throne. See? Righteousness and justice, the foundation of His throne. Fire goes before Him and consumes His adversaries on every side. His lightnings light up the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax before Yahweh, before the Yahweh of all the earth. The heavens proclaim His righteousness, and all the peoples behold His glory. All worshippers of images are put to shame. Those who make their boast in worthless idols, all Elohim bow down before Him. Zion, you know, the hill on which David began the new capital city. Zion hears and is glad, and the towns of Judah rejoice. The two southern tribes, called Judah, of course, because of your judgments, O Elohim, for you, O Eye Asher Eye, are most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all Elohim. Yahweh loves those who hate evil. Remember a few years ago when our Oklahoma Conference for Community and Justice had a number of public service announcements on television that said, come and join our hate club. We were trying to get people's attention. Come join our hate club. We hate racism. We hate bigotry. We hate prejudice. We hate injustice. Okay? That's the idea here. Okay? What verse was I on? Lost my place. 10. Sorry, yes. The Lord loves those who hate evil. He guards the lives of His faithful. He rescues them from the hand of the wicked. Light dawns for the righteous and joy for the upright in heart. Rejoice in Yahweh, O you righteous. Give thanks to His holy name. All right, let's stop there. I got to go get my picture made with the confirmands. I have to rush away here. Please do not leave if you haven't been to church. I know we have a little choir singing, some of our young ones singing right at the beginning of the service, and then we have a little bit bigger choir singing later, and of course the chancel choir will be singing as well. It's going to be a great service. We want you to stay and be a part.